Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode here at WILDMAN Lives. I'm your host, WILDMAN. Now on today's episode, there's 3 things I know for a fact. Number 1, it is very hot outside right now. We're in the middle of summer and the temperatures are skyrocketing, which is going to make working out more difficult, but that's the way I like it because that makes you actually stronger in the long term. The second thing I'm absolutely sure about is there's a mockingjay behind me that just keeps going crazy trying to find a mate, and he is very annoying, but I wish him all the best because everybody deserves love, even annoying little mockingbirds. And the third thing I know is that I'm going to be back squatting today, but today I'm kind of messing around because it's kind of a fun day. So I decided that I was going to do back squat with the chains, but I'm also going to be squatting down to this box, which is like an inch above parallel. So I'm not going to be going full parallel, which is going to be easier on my knees and on my hips. The main reason I'm doing that today is because, like I said, it is for fun, but there are a lot of benefits to weightlifting with a box and with chains, and that's going to be the topic of today's video. So let's pop into today's workout and see what we got going on. Now for today's strength giant set, I'm going to be doing the box squat, like I said, on this very sunny and warm day. And you can see that as I go down to the box, if I completely decompress, it's like an inch above parallel. And when I don't, which you'll see later, it's like 2 inches above parallel. But that's okay, because I'm not trying to go parallel today. I'm trying to do something different. And as I go up in weight on the box squat, I'm also going to be doing some weighted pull-ups. I like to do this for 3 reasons. Number 1, it builds upper back strength very well. Number 2, it carries over to the deadlift. And 3, it stretches out my back as I'm decompressing it on the back squat. And lastly, I'm going to be doing some weighted step-ups with that kettlebell. It's just important to make sure that I'm getting everything activated, and I'm also working my obliques as I'm going up a weight on the box squat, and this is a great warm-up to do. And that's going to be the strength giant set for the day. And I'm also adding chains to this equation. And the reason why I'm doing that is because today is kind of an easier day, and I get to kind of play around with stuff. So I decided that I was going to add the chains to really maximize the most amount of weight that I could feel at the top of the lift. Mainly just to give myself that meathead gratification I have, lifting heavy and feeling all that weight on my shoulders. Now, if your deadlift and your bench press and your overhead press is really strong and you want to work on your back squat and it's just not up to par with the rest of those lifts, I'm going to give you 4 pieces of advice that you can do in order to make sure that you get up to where you want to be. The first thing is you got to do back squats, and you got to do it frequently. You can't just go into the gym and do a back squat for your 1 session and then expect to grow. There's obviously many factors to that, and one of that's going to be the volume portion. It's just like playing a sport. If you play baseball, basketball, football, golf, it just requires a lot of time and a lot of practice, and you got to do it frequently. So making sure that you're doing enough back squats in your strength program is step number 1. There's even a theory out there that you could squat every day. And how can that be? How can somebody squat every single day? And the trick to that is advice number 2, which is in addition to doing the back squat, you also need to do the variation lifts. This can be used with a different implement, such as an axle bar, an SSB, or changing the lift by placing it on your shoulders and doing a front squat or in your arms like a zercher squat. And then there's this variation that I'm doing today, which is the box squat. And people use the box for different reasons. Today, I'm not worried about going to depth. I'm not worried about a whole lot today because, like I said, this is just kind of a fun day that I get to play around with this implement. But doing this, even with the chains and not going to full depth, is doing something, which I'll explain later. The third thing that you got to do is you need to do some isometric movements on your quads and your hamstrings and your glutes. This is great to do with machines, but there's also movements that you can do that carry over very well into the barbell back squat, which is something that I could show you later in this video. And the last thing you got to do is you got to accessorize, right? You got to do your accessories, which is something that I preach all the time because accessories is super important. It really makes sure that it's building your tendon strength and getting proper blood pumped into the muscle. So that way you're able to heal, recover, and be ready for your next session. So now the reason why I've whipped out this box and I've whipped out these chains is because I'm primarily only focusing on one thing. I want to feel the max amount of weight on my shoulders. since those chains decompress into the ground at the bottom of the lift, I should be able to lift more and get to a much higher weight at the top of the lift, in theory at least. And the box, you could fully decompress into that box, roll back like just a little bit, and then stand up like you're coming out of a chair. And that's what a lot of people use the box squat for. But what I'm using the box squat for today is to make sure that I don't go down to parallel or below. So I'm really looking to optimize the most amount of weight between the top of the lift and 2 inches above parallel. Doing this in conjunction with a full back squat, which I do repeatedly and often, is going to help build the back squat all together. So my top set was 410 pounds for 3, but you know me, I got to test it out. And I wanted to squat my old max, which was 455 pounds, so I loaded the bar for 450 pounds total. And it went up awfully slow, but I felt like I could have done multiple reps if I wanted to. So this was a good starting place for me just to kind of see where I'm at. Once I was done with the strength giant set, I immediately moved on to the assistance, which I was doing 3 rounds. And I was doing that barbell on my back, and I was doing Bulgarian split squats. This is a great exercise to do to really build knee strength and also isolate those quads a little bit better. And having that barbell sit like that, even though it's light, really puts me in a position of disadvantage, because doing it with a kettlebell in front of me or at the side is a lot easier. And I continue to do the weighted pull-ups as well, just to kind of end on an even number. And I continue to do the step-ups as well for those 3 rounds, just to make sure that I'm finishing everything off the way I started. And then for the accessory giant set, I was doing 3 rounds, and I was doing some supination curls to really work my biceps, since they took a beating from all those weighted pull-ups. And then I did some hitchhikers just to make sure I'm getting some back health and some shoulder health, which is a great exercise to do. And then I finished by doing some single leg bridges. So I would do 5 on each leg, starting with the left leg up and then the right leg up. And then I immediately moved over and finished with some regular bridges for 10 repetitions. And that was going to be the strength giant set for the day. And all in all, not a bad workout. Alrighty, so that's going to conclude it for today's workout on this very hot and sunny summer day. Hope everybody learned something new, and I really appreciate all of you stopping by. I'll see you next time. Thank you.